the town where the jazz is swinging high. It's the New Orleans Outsider with Chris Goff, my oh my. We may be outsiders, but our love for New Orleans is true. So come along as I share it all with you. Sights and sounds, food and drinks. We're here to take a ride with New Orleans Outsider as our guide.
And here are your hosts, Chris Goff, Peter Newkirch, and Justin Appleberry.
Well, we all get asked a lot about what our favorite meal, our favorite restaurant is in New Orleans. And I have a lot of answers, as you guys do too. But mine is always, this is on the top of my list every time. Welcome to NOLA Outsider. I'm Chris, along with Justin and Peter. And we're here to talk about GW Finn's. And it is
this GW Finn's Goff classic restaurant. This is your death row, one final meal. Got to go to the grave with it. This is Chris Goff's go-to ride or die place to go, ladies and gentlemen.
If you're just talking about one meal, it doesn't matter about the ambiance or the drinks or anything else. You're just you're going to put a plate of food as I'm on death row about to get the injection, the firing squad, whatever. I'm going to, whatever they decide to kill me. That's going to be from GW Finn's. Peter, you agree, right?
I absolutely agree with it. That will definitely be your last meal.
It won't be yours, though.
Lots of options.
There are lots of options. By the way, I do want to make sure that going into this show that we don't all agree 100% because, one of our loyal listeners last week gave me a little trouble because we all agreed that a hot muffaletta was far superior than a cold muffaletta, and he did not think we were given enough credence to the great Central Grocery and the cold muffaletta that was started. And so I just want to make sure we don't collaborate on this. We just thought a hot sandwich is better than a cold sandwich. I think most people would agree.
A little controversy there. Got to deal with it. Yeah. A little controversy.
Well, we knew that was going to happen as soon as it got brought up. So yeah.
It is. If you're going to argue about something in New Orleans, it's going to be about a sandwich, definitely. But, GW Finn's is a restaurant that when I first heard about it, I think I sort of happened upon it. I think I looked it up on Google, like, hey, best restaurants to eat in the French Quarter. Of course, you get a litany of things there because there's so many great restaurants as we've discussed many times. But the Brennan's restaurants you see a lot. I mean, obviously, there's just – I'm not going to go through them all because there's so many, but GW Finn's kept popping up on this list, and it wasn't the first couple times I went to New Orleans. It was probably maybe the fourth or fifth time I went to New Orleans, and it was like, hey, I think we all have a list like this. Hey, I want to go to these restaurants. I've never gone to them. Once we get past our normal ones that we go to, we're going to go to this one. So I ended up going to GW Finn's, and man, it's pretty nondescript from the outside. When you walk up to it. It looks like just any other building in New Orleans. It's in the middle of a block, so it's not on a corner or anything like a Muriel's or whatever. And you walk up, and it's just a hanging fish sign up there that says GW Finn's. And really, it's right across the street from Arnaud's, isn't it, Peter? I think it's right across the street.
It is, yeah, right across the street.
And so it's obviously it's got great restaurants all around it, but it's just so. I don't know. It's not bold and out there, which I'm not blaming him for it. They definitely are not flashy, but they save that for their actual, the substance inside, Peter.
Oh yeah. I mean, it has a nice outside, but plain. And you're right. You would walk by it if you didn't. You maybe would think it was a entertainment space, event space. If you just were walking by and looked in there and didn't really know it. But once you go inside, it's a whole different story.
Yeah, it's definitely super fancy on the inside. But when you looked at it, Justin, what was their first impression of going to GW Finn's? I think you had gone. I don't think you were with me the very first time I went. I think I sort of played it up and talked it up and really hammed it up to you before you went. What did you think when you first walked up there?
Yeah, so you put it over real big as like just a real great restaurant, and obviously as we are likened to do, but as we are preparing for our trips to New Orleans, we research the menu and research all the stuff like that. So I was pretty excited, and Peter's right. It's very kind of nondescript on the outside. I think they let their food speak for itself. The atmosphere is very nice inside. I wouldn't say it's traditional New Orleans inside. It's more, more. I don't know how to just.
I just think it's just a nice, classy restaurant inside.
Exactly.
It doesn't necessarily scream New Orleans to me. Yeah.
More
That's exactly
contemporary
right.
than a lot of places
There you go.
we go towards, but comfortable.
Yeah, you're right. Modern, definitely modern. If you've gone there in years past, it might look a little different to you now. They just went through a big interior renovation here recently, and it's super nice, very modern. Like low light, sort of etched metal, sort of decorative stuff on the walls.
But very comfortable.
Very comfortable. Lots of booths. It was funny. I was doing some research and like looking at people's reviews of GW Fins, and a lot of them say, great place inside, very comfortable seating, like nice ambiance, but it's very loud, which I always think when people talk about the audio levels in restaurants in New Orleans, it's sort of, first of all, I don't really I'm usually tipsy, so it doesn't really register, and I'm probably causing that. I just think, like, when you're in New Orleans, especially in the French Quarter, and you're eating at a fancy restaurant at any time of the day, it's going to be loud. It just is. I mean, you don't even recognize
critique. That's an odd critique.
But it's true. As soon as they said it, I understand what they're talking about. When you're in there, it's not. I mean, you can talk to your wife or your spouse or whatever across from you. It's totally fine. It's not like you have to scream like you're at a loud bar or something. But I mean, you're not. There's other restaurants I've eaten at, like Ralph's in the Park, for example. When you eat there, it's. I think I could hear someone cough like 30 feet away. But in GW Fins, that's not happening, because GW Fins, as much as it is a fancy restaurant, it's also a laid back place that you feel comfortable being able to yuck it up with your friends after you've had 5 hurricanes and you're ready to eat. I think that's how I felt.
I like that they put out their dress code. We were talking about that the other episode with Commanders. They'd have a dress code. It's not a very formal one. I guess we bring all that up. It was loud, but not uncomfortable. I don't remember having any struggles with hearing the waiter or anybody else at the table. And I think there was 8 of us there, and could hear everybody just fine. Conversely, I remember, Broussard's, it was very quiet in that dining room.
It was. And there's a lot like that. And I just bring it up because it is like Justin said, it's a unique critique, but we're all getting old, so we're all going to be sorry. Hey, it's loud in here. That's just what you do.
God damn, kids, turn it down.
But I'm like, but as I'm, when I'm around my wife, and what she probably conversely thinks this about me, like when I'm drinking in New Orleans and we're eating in a nice place, tend to be sort of loud. So, it's just. That's what's going to happen. But, it is located on 808 Bienville Street, which is just off the corner of Bourbon. So if, a lot of people are like, I'm not going to Bourbon Street, which I completely understand. It's sort of catty corner to Desire Oyster Bar, which used to be one of our favorite hangouts pre-COVID. But, it's between Dauphine and Bourbon Street on that side street. And it's, like I said, across from our nose. It's perfectly placed to me. It's like it's far enough from Bourbon that where you wouldn't even really know anything's going on, like whatever it is, 50 feet down the street. But it is super close. So if you stay in the French Quarter, it is an easy walk. It really is.
Yeah, even if you're dressed up, comfortable walk from most of those hotels down there.
Yeah, totally. It opened in 2001, so it's pretty much the same age as Muriel's, and it's interesting that a lot of these restaurants that we're going to talk about open up right around the turn of this century, because it just feels like it's been there forever. Same with Muriel's. GW Fins. When I looked at, when we went there, there's something I wanted to discuss a lot about because of our ties to Kansas City, all us being Kansas Cityans. It's interesting. So we go down there, myself, Justin, and our friend Jeremy go down for the Super Bowl this past year. Unfortunately, the Chiefs lost to the Eagles, but that's a side note.
That's a different episode.
It was. We need to discuss Super Bowl in New Orleans, especially on the losing end. Sucks. But when you go to, when we were down there and we were they were doing a lot. Obviously, when your team is in a Super Bowl, and this year was obviously in New Orleans, they do a lot of local ties to what's going on. They say, hey, the Kansas City Star, our newspaper, was doing some articles on, just any former players that are now with the Saints or vice versa. That's typical stuff. But what they did an article on Gary Wollerman, who is the owner and who is the GW in GW Fins. And they do this article about Gary Wollerman, about how he's from Raytown, Missouri, which is amazing because, I mean, if you've been to Kansas City, it's a suburb of Kansas City. I had no idea.
Town and down, baby.
I know it's obviously the setting for Mama's Family, if you're a classic sitcom lover. But, Raytown, Missouri is a suburb of Kansas City. Had no idea that we've been going there, and this guy has ties to our hometown here. So I start reading up on him, and he got his start in the Houlihan restaurant, family of restaurants there, Peter. I mean, he was, which I believe is Bristol, Houlihan's, several others. But I mean, Peter, I don't know if I know you did a lot of work in Chicago, St. Louis. I don't really know what you think about that level, that family of restaurants, but to get your start there when he did, and to sort of take it down to New Orleans, that was a pretty good head start for Mr. Gary.
Absolutely. And I believe he did most of his work at Bristol's. I don't know if that's where he started, but if you train in a place like Bristol's, you're going to do well. You definitely get that good foundation work that you need.
Yeah, it said he started, I believe, as a bartender at Houlihan's, and then he went on to become rise up the chef ladder, I guess, over at the Bristol. But the tie-in to the Bristol that a lot of people in New Orleans might not know, if you would care anything about Kansas City history of restaurants, is that everyone loves the little biscuits that they give out, sort of pre-meal biscuits they give out at GW Fins. They're the sort of the drop biscuits that come out warm. They're only about the size of maybe $50 to like a dollar coin. And, they bring them out constantly. That's one thing about GW Fins that is similar to a lot of places in New Orleans, but there's so many servers for you. Everyone has their own specific job, which makes you feel like a king in there because everyone is treating you as such. But they give you these biscuits, and I hear about it all the time. Everybody loves these biscuits, and they sell the mix around Christmas time for $10 a bag. If you're in person, they will not mail them because I was going to give them to some people. But it's $10, and everybody loves these biscuits. And that he got that idea from the Bristol, because the Bristol does it, and he obviously amended that and took it down there. But Justin, I know you took a couple, 2, 3, 4 of those. I mean, you love those.
I love those biscuits. It's almost like reminiscent not only the Bristol, but the old Red Lobster.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
the Red Lobster cheddar biscuits. Yeah,
going back old school on those bad boys. That's good old Ozark fancy food.
Oh yeah, I mean that is where
you can't go wrong with biscuits.
No, you're right.
They're always going to be the right choice for everybody.
That's interesting. That's a tie into the Kansas City, though.
It is. It's a Bristol tie-in, which I thought was really cool because there's so many people down there like that little addition that he has, which is like something small like that. It's the details, Peter, that make these places different from each other. So many great restaurants down there. Everybody sort of has to have their little niche thing, and that seems to be theirs.
Yeah, you want that item or several items or detail that you do that makes you stand out without it being cliched or just becomes tired. So
yeah,
you can't go wrong with biscuits. They don't ever get old.
So Gary Wollerman started his career in 1972 as the opening bartender at the very first Houlihan's restaurant in Kansas City, Missouri. The founders enrolled him in their year-long management training course, and over an 18-year tenure, Wollerman advanced to the position of executive vice president, opening and managing numerous restaurants nationwide. And so, after his success at Houlihan's, he joined Ruth's Chris Steakhouse as vice president. And then ultimately in 2001, he channeled his extensive experience into opening GW Fins in the French Quarter. So pretty cool tie-in for a restaurant that I specifically.
So is that the only joint he owns down there?
That's as far as I know. Yes, he opened it with his partner, who we'll get to, but his name was Tenny Flynn, who was the first executive chef there. And Tenny Flynn has an unbelievable resume as well. He retired, so he's no longer the executive chef, but he's the guy. If you read about GW Fins, that Tenny Flynn is the guy that started many of their their dishes that they have today, their signature dishes. And those two own it. And that's the only one that he owns down there. Because I was wondering, at first, people sort of made it sound like GW Fins might be either a small or medium-sized chain thing in other towns. At first, I think I thought that was the case. But no, it's just one just down there. his entire family still works there. Last time I went there, when we just recently went with my wife here this past March, I went down and I was in there and I was like, "Hey, is the owner here?" And they were like, "He's not here tonight." And they said that he's, sort of like pretty much in retirement, but he comes in like once a week maybe. But I wanted to meet him just to sort of tell him, like, I know where Raytown, Missouri is,
Right.
Sort of get that, sort of talk to him about that. But I've never been able to meet him. But his daughters, his wife still work there. It's a total family-owned place there. So I'm sure one of these times I'll get to meet one of the Woolerman clan.
I'm glad to hear that. I was under that impression that it may be part of another group or something, but that's great, especially as we've talked about in New Orleans. You want everyone to be that unique space.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
I think it's more the name, right? Like GW Fins kind of gives it like, hey, TGI Fridays, GW Fins type. Or you think it's kind of like a chain that would be around some places, but that's cool that they're the only ones that it's the only location they have. Like the Brennans pretty much own everything there in New Orleans, so it's kind of nice to have an independent.
They do have a ton. I mean, they're like GW Fins is it's. So, let's get to the brass tacks here. Like, so when we talk about our favorite meals, as we've joked about, I always tell it's always between, for me, Commander's Palace, Muriel's, or GW Fins. Those are the three places I really like. There's other places. I know the greatest restaurant and the greatest meal in the world is Ralph's on the Park for Peter and Charlotte. Right, yes. Peter? Okay.
Yes.
But for us other normal people, no, okay. But for us other people below Peter, GW Fins to me is the best cuisine that I ever have there. And I've never, I have great meals at Muriel's and Commander's Palace. It's not like I've had a bad meal there either. But I mean, seriously, they have several dishes there that I really love. If you love seafood, and obviously New Orleans is a seafood town, every place has their own, sort of take on a seafood dish, or their entire menu is seafood. But when you go to GW Fins, they print their menus daily. I mean, they have paper menus. They come out every day. They have, I don't know, guys, what is it? A dozen or more like fresh fish of the day. They don't even announce their fresh catch of the day until 4 p.m. every day, and that's when they open. They're just a dinner restaurant. So, I mean, when I first went in there, I was just amazed by not only the amount of fresh fish they had to cook on a daily basis, but also the wide variety that they have. That, of course, I, like everyone in the world, what flounder is, or several other fishes that are pretty normal in any place in America. But there was just so many other takes on fish that I'd never had there before. Is that the way you guys saw it?
I see it as one of the few true seafood restaurants that's not a more bar-oriented fried fish place down there. There's not a whole. Everybody else kind of diversifies either into the classic French or the New Orleans style, and a bigger mix. Where GW Fins just goes all in. Probably 90% of their menu is fish.
It is.
So, Goff, you should work toward what your favorite dish there is, and what's significant or unique about that said fish before.
So my favorite fish, and I've tried almost everything on their menu, and we'll go through their menu here in a minute, but my favorite dish is the sheep's head, and it's Parmesan crusted sheep's head is what they currently are serving. And I will say, we've talked about other places, like a lot of times in Muriel's or, even Commander's Palace, there are things on there that are on there every single time, especially Muriel's. We've discussed them where it's like they're tried and true. They know what sells. They always have like these 4 meals all the time. GW Fins is completely different. They have new stuff all the time. They're constantly sort of rotating in and out all the time. So when I try to go get sheep's head, sometimes it's not there. So now it's Parmesan crusted sheep's head. It's got lump crab on top with asparagus, potatoes, capers. I mean, it is my favorite fish, and I had no idea what the hell a sheep's head fish was when I went down there. I think we had to Google it because we were like, "What is this?" And
they're
when you
ugly
Google,
fish.
It's worth a Google. It's worth a Google.
You need to look up
Dear
sheep's head.
loyal listeners, Google what a sheephead's fish looks like, and those pearly whites.
I do find it interesting. I'm going to tell you that you've gone through most of their menu, because I believe every time you go down there, you get the sheep's head fish. So right. I don't know how many other times you were there that you didn't have it.
Well, when I say that, first of all, I've tried everyone else's meals. Like I haven't had but I have had, I'd say at least 3 other fish, just me personally. So I've probably been there 5 or 6 times, and I've definitely had the sheep's head 2 or 3 times minimum. So, but you're right. Thanks for calling me out, Peter.
I feel like you've been there way more than that.
Well, we all
I
taste.
probably
We all taste each other. So
Yeah.
I probably
We all
have,
share.
but
And
I mean,
they're very creative with their menu. When you're saying that it's not just the fish that they're changing, they are changing out the sides, the sauces, the presentation, the preparation, everything. I mean, you can look at the menu online. You can even look at pictures that are posted. You know, you get an idea of what the menu is going to be like. They have some themes that they follow,
Yeah.
but you don't know what you're actually going to see on the menu until you go in that night for dinner.
yeah, I mean, even like we were talking about, like it's a daily menu. So even on their actual website, I don't really know if they update it every day, you know? So, it might not be on, if you're going there and you're like, oh, it's on the menu online, it might not be there that day because of just whatever their catch of the day is or whatever they decide to shuffle that day. But, the sheep's head, look it up. It looks like they've gone to an orthodontist, had their teeth straightened. They look like human adult teeth in a fish. And the interesting part about the sheep's head is, they say that because they have the bigger teeth and because they can eat more than just little plants, they eat mollusks and stuff like that, that allows their flesh to be a little bit more velvetier, or a little bit velvetier, I should say. And so and you can tell it's just such a rich fish, and it is so good. And I have tried so many times to look up sheep's head online, see if I can buy a couple pounds and fly them in frozen or whatever. I've found it at a couple places, and it's ridiculously expensive to have it here. So I have not been able to do that yet. But yeah, you know how it is. Even if I got sheep's head, and Peter, you're the best chef I know that personally, but even if you came and fixed it here, I don't know if it's being in New Orleans makes it just as good. It's never as good at your own house, is my point. It just never is. But
I agree. I absolutely agree. And you get the whole ambiance of it also there down there.
So before we talk about your special Divergent entree that you got there, Justin, let's talk about what your favorite meal is that you've ever had there.
Well, that's the only meal I've ever had there.
That's the only time you've gone?
That's the only time I've gone.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so then let's get into it. One of the things that GW Fins allows people, or one of their niche products that they have that they're sort of diversifying themselves from other restaurants, is they are doing this. They are dry aging fish. And Peter, can you explain what dry aging fish entails?
Well, I mean, they have to. It's most commonly done with beef,
Of course.
with steaks, large cuts, and you air dry them in the cooler to age the meat, giving it a certain distinct flavor. You'll lose a lot of water weight in it, so obviously the price goes up because you're going to be paying for all of that and the time that it takes, because they're probably letting stuff dry age for well over a week. So it does give it, I won't ruin the surprise, but it gives it a distinct both flavor and texture that you would not expect with most fishes. And they do have to do it. They have to do it with what would be more meaty fishes.
Now, Justin, they have a dry aged bluefin tuna they call the New York strip. They have a dry aged yellowfin tuna, and they have what you tried, the dry aged swordfish chop. Chop being the operative word here. How was your meal?
So I'm going to set the table for you, boys.
Okay.
So as we are wanting to do, as we are preparing for our trips to New Orleans, you tell me. Chris usually sets the itinerary of where we're going and kind of puts it all together for us. So I'm checking out this website. I'm like, oh, GW Fins, and he's putting it over as this great place. And I see this dry aged fish. And coming from the Midwest, we've had dry aged beef, which Peter so well put it that's not an uncommon thing for beef. I'm like, this is going to be the best thing I've ever had in my life. This is going to be fantastic. And I built it up in my head. And I've been, hey, Chris, I'm trying that. I'm trying that dried aged fish. When I go there, hey, Wyatt, I'm trying this. And I told my wife, I was like, I couldn't shut up about it. I'm trying this dry aged fish. It's going to be the best thing, blah, 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 blah. It came out. Oh, there it is. There is the dry aged piece of fish. Slice into it. I'm excited as hell. I take a bite, and it tastes like a pork chop. A very delicious, moist pork chop, but it didn't. And it's maybe no fault of them. Maybe I didn't know what it was, but I built it up in my head. I was super excited. I've never heard of anything like that in my life. and it was a pork chop. It was a pork chop.
A
delicious
pescatarian pork chop. Okay.
It was very delicious. I enjoyed it. I shared my bites with everybody, but
I tried it.
it's I can get a pork chop. There's a pig farm 5 miles from me here, so I can grab that here and be okay with it like that. So maybe my mistake. I built it up too big in my head, but I don't know what I was thinking, but that was not what I was thinking. So if you're thinking you're getting a dry age something or another, it's a pork chop.
So Peter, like hearing what Justin just said about it, like, and I believe me, GW Fins is one of my favorites. So I'm not saying any negative things about him at all here, but this obviously I always applaud people for trying new things. And I think in terms of techniques, rather, as I'm not talking about Justin trying that, because we all try new things when we're eating down there. But as far as like the technique of this dry aging fish, I think it's interesting. They've really been doing this for several years now. And it's obviously, I assume it's been catching on to a degree. Otherwise, they wouldn't still be doing it. I do find it interesting, like swordfish sort of has that pork choppy sort of, thicker steak-like, eating anyway. So when you take the moisture out, I can understand why Justin says it tastes like it's got the texture of a pork chop. So knowing that, Peter, is that a good or bad thing? Is that something that I'm trying to decide if this is something they should keep doing or not.
Well, I don't think it's a gimmick. As you said, they've been doing it for several years now, and I'm guessing that they're selling more because that time it was just the swordfish, if I remember. They weren't doing any other fish, and now they're doing 3. So I'm betting they're getting requests for more options. It just would intensify the flavor, and definitely going to change the texture. That what you're talking about, that velvet texture that the sheep's head has, it would give something like that, because the enzymes break down. Not that fish is tough, but it's going to just make a more tender cut.
Yeah, I think it's very unique. They have their head chef there now. He has really taken to this technique, and they've gotten a lot of accolades for it. So I think it's cool. I mean,
it wasn't bad. It wasn't bad.
There's so many things on the menu that I'm always wanting to try. And like as we just said, you go in there that day and you don't know what the menu actually is until you sit down. I would like to try one of the tunas and have it cooked rare, and see if that changes the whole texture as opposed to the swordfish, which was probably cooked at least a medium.
So can you cook so if you dry age a tuna, is there such thing as cooking it rare?
Yeah, I don't know why I couldn't.
I just figured it's almost like, I feel like when you dry age something, it's like halfway done anyway. It's already
Would you sear it at that point? Just get a little
you'd be searing it. But I understand what you're saying, Chris. It has a cooked flame. It's not like cooking it with with an acid like a ceviche or something, but it would have that kind of texture. But I think you could still just sear it real quick and see if that heightens the flavors of something like tuna.
Well, if anybody goes down there and tries it, obviously it's been well received by the majority of people down there, because like you said, they have bluefin, yellowfin, and swordfish now, and they continue to grow that menu. And it's they always have that along with all their other fishes. So Michael Nelson is the name of the executive chef there now. He's been there since 2015, and he's been, that's since I've been going there from day one. So he's obviously puts together a great menu. Peter, I didn't ask you, what's your? You've gone there multiple times, correct? You've gone there at least twice, I think.
No. Yeah, it was with Chuck.
Oh wow, look at that! Look at that!
What did you
You
get?
guys tried it. What do you think?
Well, before you get to that, I think I found, because every time you go, you will send me a picture of the menu that you have and ask what I would get.
Yeah.
And I always challenge you to get something other than the sheep's head, because I know that's what you're going to get if it's available.
Of course.
I think I found the middle ground, and they may have this. We're going down in June. We'll see if that. So they're doing a sheep's head ceviche right now as an appetizer.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Which
I see
sounds,
that. Okay.
Yeah. That sounds with the habanero sorbet. That sounds delicious.
Wow.
So you can still get your sheep's head and then try something else.
I will
There you
do
go,
that.
pal.
I see that on the chilled appetizer menu here. Wow. See, that's something brand new. They do change a lot, which I think is cool. I think it's,
Oh, yeah.
I don't know, just from having my own, I make wine. I like to do mixologist things with wine. So I always look up to the people that are doing with food or alcohol. They try to have different flavors, different things all the time. To me, it shows that you're still like engaged. You want to do different things to me.
Right.
Yeah, you're going in every day to work and looking forward to it. I
Sure.
can tell you, it's not going to be exactly what's on the menu right now, but I do remember I did a ceviche. It was not the sheep's head, I'm sorry. I did a tuna tartare, but it was slightly different than the one that they're presenting right now on the menu. Did the golden beet salad because I always take a beet salad.
Yeah.
And then I had on their menu right there, did the spearfish barracuda. I remember it being I had a black drum that was blackened, and I'm not a big rice person, but it was delicious over rice with sweet potatoes, and I don't remember the sauce. I believe it was a tomato red pepper sauce, and of course it was excellent. It was just absolutely delicious.
Now with every other seafood restaurant in the French Quarter, they always have, if you're going down there, they have a pork chop, they have a fillet, they have chicken breast, they have that kind of stuff. But the stuff they have that one of the meals that we haven't talked about, one of their signature dishes is called the scallopet, which is scallops sort of melded together with a piece of halibut, which has been on their menu from a very long time. I don't know if it's from day one or not, but I believe
I took the impression that it was from day one.
Yeah, Tenny Flynn, I believe, is the opening guy that did a lot of those, including that. And scallopet is like what everyone gets. When I walk in there, everyone's like, I'm getting the scallopet again. And a lot of people that are regulars there get that. And I love both halibut and scallops. So that was what I got the very first time I went there. And I thought it was great. I mean, I haven't had a bad meal there. I mean, in fact, one of my favorite appetizers there was the crispy pork belly that was sort of cut in these squares with the squares of the watermelon sort of alternating. I don't know if you guys tried that when I was there, but man, that is so good. I mean, and now I see they're doing it with pineapple. So they do change it up, but that was good. And even this past time when I went, and I'm not hey, let me get a salad when I'm in New Orleans, because I rarely do that. But I got the triple iceberg wedge, which I didn't really know how they were going to plate that when they brought it out. But
wedge is tough. Yeah,
it was 3 sort of, I'd say like a quarter or eighth wedges from a big head of lettuce. 3 separate ones, and each one had one had a shrimp, one had bacon, one had Thousand Island, one had blue cheese, one had ranch or whatever. There was 3 different ones, and that was great. I mean, I don't know. I think of just as we were talking about, I think of just the cuisine, I think is the best meal I have in New Orleans, and I would take it over any other place. And that's probably including Commander's, not because I don't love Commander's food, but I like the menu at GW Finn's better on a daily basis. But if you're talking about overall ambiance, which is where I get in debates with friends all the time, I'm like, what's the favorite restaurant or what's the greatest restaurant or greatest meal down there? The ambiance in GW Finn's, although great and it's really nice and nothing's wrong with it, it's not screaming New Orleans when you're walking in there. So if you're a tourist like us and you're in there and you're like, Muriel's is like, I know I'm in like a different place. I know I'm not in Leawood, Kansas. I know I'm in New Orleans. And I think that's the only thing that some people see in GW Finn's. And correct me if I'm wrong, Justin. I think that some people just see that this is more of this could be anywhere in America, but it's an awesome restaurant, as opposed to this is a great New Orleans-ish restaurant,
Yeah, absolutely right. It's ever-changing menu, which is always nice. You never know what you get, but you still got your staples there. It's a fun place to go to. I mean, there's nothing wrong with the ambiance. It's just not traditional New Orleans ambiance in there, but the meal's great. The atmosphere is great. I don't think it was too loud. I only had the one meal there, and but everything else, and the dry age stuff, I'm not shitting on it. It just probably wasn't what I was looking for, but highly recommend going back again because I'm going to.
Well, Peter would applaud you because you tried something different and got the dry age.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
I'm not like golf.
I'm looking forward.
Exploratory. I'm looking at new stuff.
That swordfish bolognese that they have on there right now, I think is probably, to me, they're the most creative dish on that menu right now, amongst some very high-rated other dishes. I do remember it's one of the places I enjoy wine, but have gotten away over the years from drinking it always with certain meals, but I do remember I got a glass of wine with dinner, I think maybe two, enjoyed them. But in preparation for this episode, I reached out to my brother Greg, who just last week passed his first level of sommelier
Wow.
2-day test.
Very nice.
Yeah, so he's now able to start the process to become a sommelier to make the level 1. So I asked him for to take a look at their wine list and see what he would reference and recommend. So you get a little practice in there. And he recommended the Scharfenberger Brut Rose, the Lucen Riesling as excellent choices. And I know they change their wine list about as often as they do the food. I think they do pair well. I don't know if they actually have a sommelier on staff or not. I wouldn't be surprised if they did. And then one of the German, Saar Ruhr from Germany, and he said that the Perschon Moulin, he just tasted that himself, 2021, said it was excellent wine.
So it's funny.
Clearly, they know what they're doing on their wine list.
Yeah, their wine list is like one of the most extensive, biggest ones in the French Quarter, and like they get awarded for like their wine list. What they're able to bring in internationally and everything. I didn't bring that up. My wife always enjoys her usually New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc is what she gets wherever it is on there. But we haven't talked about their bar. They have a cool bar to the side and sort of a side room, sort of cut off from the main dining area. But they have not only just their wine list, like Peter's talking about, is so extensive and changes all the time, but also their craft cocktails are the same thing. They usually have on that same wine list, they usually have, 8 to 10 different craft cocktails that they have, and it is constantly changing. I mean, every time I go there, they're brand new. I mean, which is good and bad, right? I remember I had like a blackberry bramble there, I believe, last time, and like it wasn't there this time. They had something new. So, I mean, if you want to try new stuff, it's constantly changing. If you want the old stuff there all the time, you might be upset. I don't know.
That blackberry bramble was very good.
It was, and I had several of those, and this time I can't remember what I had this past time, but I just remember that wasn't on there. But they always have something. They always have one of everything: a tequila drink, a rum drink, a bourbon drink, whatever. And it's always really good. I always and I think the service there is great. I just think they're pretty on top of the ball there. Like I said, they have like so many levels of servers there, like Antoine's, like Commanders, like so many others down there. If you want New Orleans ambiance and you're in there for a day, it may not be the thing that makes you feel like you're in the heart of Cajun country down there as far as what you're seeing inside there. But it is consistently. I couldn't find the list. My friend Jeremy had given me a list of the top 10 restaurants in America. I was either America or the world. I believe it was.
I think it was the world. Yeah,
it was GW Fins and Commander's Palace were both on there.
Number one was like in Tuscany or someplace.
It was in Italy. Yeah. And I was looking it up, and to say there's only a couple top 10 lists is a severe understatement. There's a million of them out there, but when I saw Commander's Palace was top 5 and GW Fins, I believe was 9 or 10. But I mean, good Lord, you have two of the best restaurants considered by some in the world within 5 miles of each other. It's pretty awesome. So I don't know. So Peter, like GW Fins, like how does it rank for you? You've only gone one time, which we need to change that here very soon, both you and Justin. But and again, let's take it back a step here, Peter. You give me crap because I like going to the same restaurants all the time, and GW Fins is one of my all-time favorites, and it is hard to not go to there, because I want to try Dookie Chase, I want to try all these places, but like, how do I not go to GW Fins? It's very difficult.
It is. It's super hard. I mean, you just don't have enough stomach to go to all the places that we want to try every time we're going down. Part of how this whole podcast come around.
Exactly.
I think I can say, based on that one time that went, they absolutely deserve to be on people's top 10 list, for the world and everything. I commend them for as much as they don't have weird tongue, like, are they a true New Orleans restaurant or not? I mean, first of all, they've been around for over 20 years, so that says something in the core. But when you look at their menu, it's not just the fish; it's all of the parts of the dish that they're putting together. They're focusing on regional, local ingredients, and obviously a lot of their fish is coming from the Gulf and all those areas. So they're really doing the same thing that all of these other New Orleans restaurants are doing to support that local economy. Like I said, they went into the traditional style of serving down there. They didn't have to. I mean, they're not that old.
No, they're not. And you're right. The details in all their meals are like top notch. I mean, they have like so many different little things that they add to every one of their dishes that makes it so like unique and special. It just takes it up that small notch, you know. And I forgot to bring up lobster dumplings. There are one of the top 10 things there in New Orleans too. They're made with that white fish mousseline, the tomatoes, lobster butter. That is something that is flying off the shelves when I'm in there. We've had the lobster bisque there as well. I told you about the crispy pork belly, and like there's just so many options of fish there. If you love fish, love fresh fish, catch of the day, this is your place. And Justin, I know that you were tainted by trying something new. You should have just gone with the traditional red fish. That is your go-to any place we go. But next time, I want you to just try a traditional fish there. Maybe the sheep's head, maybe not. You don't have to try that.
Sure.
I don't want you to take the last portion. That's mine. But you can get the barracuda or something else, you know.
So what I think is interesting about GW Fins is, right, we talk about like traditional comfort New Orleans spots, right? You know what you're going to get every time we go to Muriel's or we go to these other places, right? I think the charming thing about GW Fins is that it sort of challenges you when you go in there with a rotating menu. You know, you don't know what you're going to get. You're going to get something different, or you got to try something different. That's unique, and that's interesting to me. So I've only been there one time, and I wouldn't say the meal was a disappointment at all, other than what I hyped up in my brain. But I'm a guy who likes to try new things, and I'm a guy who likes who appreciates people, presenting new things to you. So to me, that's more than another reason to go there, just because, we got our staples that we could go to, but if you want to be challenged with new cuisine, certainly GW Fins is a nice spot to go.
Yep, I agree.
Yeah, they clearly do a lot of testing.
Oh
to
yeah,
come up with their menus.
I mean, can you imagine what goes into that? I mean, just the dry age alone. I mean, like, how long did they work on this?
Good Lord, yeah. How do you dry age fish? I mean, I can't wrap my head around it. That's what got me so fired up. I was like, how do they do it?
Yeah. He hasn't written the total directions of how to do that, because obviously it's proprietary, I'm sure. But I mean, it's.
I would have to think they have a separate cooler to do it, because it's very temperature controlled. To make it,
because beef's pretty forgiving, right, Pete? I mean, it's pretty forgiving beef.
Yeah, I mean, you could do it in a cooler with other stuff in it, but I would think the fish, he's probably got a whole cooler just for that.
And you have
that's a huge financial investment right there.
Sure.
Doesn't the fish, Peter, have to be it has to be it has to be that thicker fish, right? It has to be a tuna. It has to be a swordfish. It could be a mahi or something like that, but you're not going to get that to be a flaky whitefish. So you're sort of limited there.
Yeah, dry aging trout.
No. Smoke it, but you're not dry aging. No, it's got to be the dense, thick fish to make it work.
Well, that is our look at GW Fins. It's located at 808 Bienville, right off Bourbon Street between Bourbon and Dauphine. And check it out. If you go online and you see everyone talking about where to go, it's where's a nice place it's a fancy restaurant. You're going to be spending $100 per person pretty much, each, especially if you're drinking. So it's not a cheap place. It's a fancy place to go out for your anniversary, or if you're just splurging because you're in town for a few days like we do. But, I couldn't eat there every week, but I'd be broke. But it's a really nice place. So that is our take on that. And guys, I don't have something lined up next week. We have so many options we've talked about. We talked about corner stores. We talked about even, one thing, I have not talked to our boy Richard Piano Scott, but I did think something we could possibly do with him is not only just do an episode on him, because he's very interesting. We all know him pretty well, but also going forward, he might be a good person to sort of have on with us to discuss other like music people from the history of New Orleans. You know, Jelly Roll Morton, the Fats Dominoes, the James Bookers. You know, these guys that he is such an encyclopedia of knowledge, especially down there, that he would be a fun person to sort of use as a historian for us to interview. You know, so
I think that would be awesome. I would love that.
Yeah. Yeah,
absolutely.
He just messaged me today, and he showed me when I was down there, I had a big like Stanley type cup, and that's what I was showing him for the St. Patrick's Day.
You had a Stanley Cup?
You know the cup that is called Stanley, not the hockey cup. The cup. Do you know that it's like a Yeti?
You
but
threw
it's
me
Stanley.
there, buddy.
Sorry.
All right.
It comes back around to the name Stanley.
We're from Kansas City, folks. We don't have a lot of NHL hockey here, so I was thrown by that.
That does make sense, Stanley Cup hockey. But no, it had the big thermos made by Stanley, and it was because I had Errol's Hurricanes in there for the St. Patrick's Day parade, and he's like, "What's in that?" And I'm like, "It's these Hurricanes, and it's in this like Stanley type cup." And he goes, "You know what? I was looking for a name for my newest song, and I think Hurricane Stanley would make sense because it would fit in like different ways." So anyway,
shit, that's awesome.
So anyway, he sent a note today, and he goes, "Ooh, looks like we have a hit in the making." And it was a note that someone had passed him that said, "Can you please play Hurricane Stanley for Cat?" And so he's very. So I mean, we're all sort
goddamn
of
Peter. We're never going to hear the end of that one.
Yeah, that's
great.
That's
going to be in Goff's lore for years.
Yeah,
until I die. It's going to be that story.
Yeah,
you're now part of New Orleans lore.
That's right.
You made yourself part of it unknowingly.
Well, my point is he's always writing new music, and he's a great guy to talk to about just being a musician and being a successful musician in New Orleans. And we may talk with him next. I'll have to set it up. If we can't, though, we'll talk about another one of our favorite haunts, or maybe a place that we want to go, or maybe a place that only one of us has gone. But either way, there's so many awesome places to look at and check out in the awesome city of New Orleans. Thanks for listening to NOLA Outsider. We will talk to you next time, guys.
All right. See you guys.
See ya.
Thanks for listening to the NOLA Outsider podcast. We'd love to hear about your experiences in the greatest city in the world. Email us at outsidanola@gmail.com. Also, check us out on Facebook at facebook.com/NOLA Outsider or visit NOLAoutsider.com. See you next time on NOLA Outsider.